Good morning, everybody. Today is Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025. It is 12:21 a.m. This is Bangor, Maine. My name is Alan. I want to discuss very briefly an issue that's widely overlooked, and that issue is the homelessness that's plaguing our country. First off, let me begin by saying that right now in the United States is wintertime. That means the temperatures are getting very, very low, very cold. We have a major storm that's going to hit today and tomorrow here in Northeast United States. One of the key factors of winter and homelessness is that the warming shelters, places that people can go to warm up, to be out of the element, is becoming very rare. And it's usually because of funding, lack of funds, lack of facilities. What can we do to help combat homelessness? The first thing we can do is recognize what homelessness is. Homelessness does not always mean that the people that are homeless are alcoholics, drug addicts, or criminals. We stereotype, and it shouldn't be that way. A lot of the homeless are homeless because of they can't get a job, they don't have the amount of resources needed to maintain an efficient rent. Some have medications that they have to juggle whether or not they pay rent this month, buy the medication, buy food. Um, it's not always drugs, alcohol, and crime. We as American citizens should look at the real reason of homelessness. We should be looking beyond the stereotypical points of view. And here's what I mean by that. A person that's in a crisis, let's say a recent separation, for whatever reason, that's irrelevant, but a recent separation. Now, inside their heart and inside their mind, there's a crisis. They are no longer with the person they love. There could be children involved. There could be property involved, like a home, a vehicle, personal property. All of these things combined get a person to think, okay, what's left? What is left? One key factor that stands out above all things: when a person is in a crisis such as that, taking care of themselves doesn't become a priority. It becomes back burner to the point where it's almost what they don't want to do. When I went homeless years ago, I gave up on society because every time I reached out for help, I got pushed back because automatically society labels a person that's homeless as an alcoholic, a drug addict, or a criminal. That wasn't the case. One of the things that taught me how society views a homeless person is when I went to a simple restaurant like a McDonald's, a Burger King, a Dunkin' Donuts. Being homeless, obviously you're not wearing a tuxedo and a $5,000 suit, whatever. You go in and your clothes are dirty, your fingernails are dirty. Um, you may not have been shaved. You may have a little dirt on your face. And automatically they assume that you're either an alcoholic, a drug addict, or a criminal, or all three. I learned at a very quick pace that when you go to certain restaurants, just simply to get warm, they're like, oh, well, your kind of people aren't welcome here. You should hang around your kind of people. What is my kind of people? What is your kind of people? What does that mean? That means they're being labeled. When you go to a restaurant, the only label you should have is customer, potential customer. You should not be labeled as a criminal, an alcoholic, a drug addict, a thief, a liar, a manipulator, a cheater, simply because you don't play the part with decent clothing, clean shaven, wearing $30,000 shoes, a Rolex, driving a Mercedes. And these are just wild fest ideas, but anyways, what can we do to help combat homelessness? The first thing we can do is recognize what it is. Homelessness is the inability to have a stable, long-term residence. How can we help? We not, and I should say this kind of loosely, but we're not able to say, okay, well, I'll just reach my wallet and give you $10,000, you won't get a home. That's not logical. Logic clearly dictates that it takes a lot more than just one person to help the homeless population. We may have an extra coat. We may have extra socks, mittens, gloves, hats, boots. We may have hand warmers that we can give out. We may have non-perishable food items that we can pass out. But there's also a catch to that. When you give a homeless person food, and if it's in a can, the flip-top cans, sub-zero temperatures, those freeze. It becomes useless to them because they have no way to cook it unless they build an outside fire. And in some states, that's highly illegal. So what can we do? Two things come to the top of my head. We can get them in touch with the resources that will help them get non-perishable foods like sandwiches, things like that. Here's an example that I want to throw out here on this video. On the street corners, you will see a lot of the homeless holding their signs. Homeless, anything helps, God bless. And almost all homeless signs, you'll see those two words at the very bottom, God bless. Here's the research that I've done on that, and I want to state why a lot of people do that. Most of the people who put the words God bless at the bottom of the sign don't believe in God, but it gives a false representation to the community. Oh, well, these people must believe in God, so they must be good people. They must be good-hearted people. A lot of that is because they're desperate. It's not because they're trying to swindle the community. It's not because they're trying to pull a fast one over you, pull the wool over your eyes so you can't see the truth. It's because they're desperate. They're in a crisis. And they're hoping that people will pay attention to those two words, God bless, because that gives a sense of loyalty, a sense of calmness, a sense of peace. So you're more willing to reach in your wallet, reach in your center console, pass out a little bit of change, a couple dollars here and there. But here's the kicker. This is the part that a lot of people are not understanding. Not all people do this, don't get me wrong, but a very large percentage do. They will take the money that you just passed them, they'll put it in their pocket, they'll stand there until they got $30, $40, $50 in their pocket, or whatever the amount they get, and they will go buy alcohol, drugs, etc. Now, here's the kick to that. When you're an addict, which I was for many years, the only thing that goes through your mind is getting that fix. It doesn't matter if it's a bottle of alcohol, uh, meth, heroin, pills, hash, cocaine. It doesn't matter as long as you get that next fix to get yourself better. And that's a term that a lot of addicts will use because now they're dope sick. They have DTs, delirium tremors, withdrawals. I went through that. I know what that's all about. I spent many years experimenting with very dangerous drugs. One of the things that society fails to recognize is an addict can't necessarily just simply quit. It could be fatal. So get them in touch with community services like methadone clinics, alcohol clinics, such as Alcoholics Anonymous, Alateen, things like that. Narcotics Anonymous, that's another great group. Community health and services, they can get you in touch with resources that can help you get into rehab programs if you're serious about being clean. Mental health counseling, drug addiction, alcoholism, and mental health usually will go hand in hand in a lot of cases. Not always. I think our best opportunity to help the homeless is to understand what homelessness is, understand the circumstances behind homelessness, and realize that resources may not be readily available to them. And that's the danger. We live in a society now where we have instant communication. You want to talk to somebody, you push a button on your phone, instant communication. You want to send a message, you hit a button on your phone, instant communication. But when it comes to homelessness, a lot of these people don't even have a phone. And when they go up to somebody and say, hey, can I borrow your phone to make a phone call? Society goes, oh, man, you ain't having my phone. You're just going to run off with it. Stereotypical. Not everybody's a thief. Now, granted, this video is a little rambling and it's not meant to be, but it's just on my mind because it's getting very cold out there right now. And when you're homeless and you're sleeping in a tent or wherever you sleep, it now becomes a life-threatening issue. When it's 10, 20, 25 below zero with a wind chill, and you're sleeping in a tent, every single minute you fall asleep could be a death sentence. Hypothermia sets in, your body starts to feel like it's warming up when actually you're freezing. The condensation on the inside of the tent because of your breath will cause ice. It'll cause lung infections, pneumonia. If you're elderly or you have a serious drug addiction, that could contribute to that. A lot of people will drink alcohol to get that false euphoria that you're actually getting warm when you're making yourself colder. All of these factors come into one very serious category. Homelessness in wintertime can become a death sentence. We as a community, we as people of the United States of America should be able to recognize how to resolve this problem. Let's be honest, the government's not going to do it. All the homeless encampments, the government is making it pretty much illegal to be homeless. And that in itself should be a crime. To end this video, go to your community, see somebody that's homeless, and at least try to help them. You may not be able to, but you don't know until you try. And who knows, at the end of the day, you just might save someone's life. Thank you for listening. My name is Alan. Be safe.